In the northwest corner of Montana, at the Canadian border, lies one of the world's most awesome wilderness areas, rugged and spectacular Glacier National Park. It is a land of great soaring mountain ranges, punctuated by icy glaciers and the magnificent valleys they have carved in some distant age. The valleys teem with wildlife, vast forests, and ice-cold mountain lakes. The mountains sparkle with roaring streams and dancing waterfalls. These incomparable vistas remain today, much as they have for thousands of years. It is a region where nature still dominates all. Glacier National Park is a 150 square mile wilderness of dramatic diversity. The first white explorers, impressed with the play of sunlight on the snow-shrouded peaks, deemed this the land of shining mountains. All who visit experience an overwhelming sense of discovery and are enriched by the rewards of a wilderness experience. The dominant mountain scenery here contrasts sharply against the few outcroppings of civilization. More than 50 years ago, picturesque Glacier Park Lodge was built just outside the park's eastern boundary. Today, it remains one of the park's most popular resorts and a center of activities. When this rustic lodge was built, 60 immense timbers were used in its construction. Huge 40-foot logs support the verandas. The rising sun bathes Two Medicine Lake and Mount Sinopah with a warm, early morning glow. The lake is located less than 10 miles northeast of Glacier Park Lodge and is a popular summer spot. Nearby, Running Eagle Falls springs from a fissure in the rock. Earlier in the season, meltwater rushes over the cliff above also, giving the falls a unique, almost two falls in one appearance. Swift Current Lake and Many Glacier Hotel are located in an area that is known as the Switzerland of North America. This alpine lake, with its elegant hotel nestled among the lofty peaks, is the showplace of the Rockies. It is one of 4 magnificent lodges in and around the park. The surrounding mountains and seemingly endless forests beckon the traveler to the wilderness. The park visitor will find everything that he needs here for a vacation that will be long remembered, including exciting horseback riding, backpacking, fishing, boating. Even short boat excursions across the lake are available. there are nightly ranger naturalist talks that will enhance your experience here and help you to better appreciate and understand the park's majestic scenery. The jagged peaks, knife-like ridges, and broad U-shaped valleys were carved by massive glaciers during 4 previous ice ages. It is these dramatic landscapes that give Glacier National Park its name, not just the 60 active glaciers found in the park today. Because of this glacial legacy, real adventure awaits the visitor on the ranger-guided all-day hike to Grinnell Glacier. You will see active ones such as Salamander Glacier, clinging to a sheer rock wall high above. Far below lies Josephine Lake with Grinnell Lake in the foreground. From below, Josephine Lake reflects the beauty of rugged mountain walls and Mount Gould to the west. The trail continues up past soaring rock faces. Cascades of water pour downward from the melting ice and snow. During past ice ages, enormous glaciers up to a mile deep surged over this area, leaving only the highest peaks exposed. These grinding rivers of ice carved out valleys and canyons, leaving their legacy in the craggy peaks and ridges. But now the great Ice Age glaciers are gone, and streams laden with silt and rock flow from their shrunken remnants into the valleys below. They continue to shrink and recede today. Rushing water from the melting glaciers is everywhere. An inspiring waterfall cascades and bounces down the craggy cliff from Gem Glacier to Grinnell Glacier below. Grinnell Glacier is one of the largest in the park. Once it was a mighty giant, many times its present size, that carved and sculpted enormous areas of surrounding valleys and ridges. Giant crevasses with deepening shades of blue still cleave the frozen ice of the glacier. Glaciers such as Grinnell carry with them vast amounts of rock debris. This debris accumulates in deposits called moraines. Massive moraines from past ice ages have created most of the lakes and many of the blunt ridges that we see today in the park. On another nearby trail, the visitor can see the sheer, towering cliffs of the Garden Wall. The return trip down the Grinnell Glacier Trail once again takes you past Grinnell Lake and ends up at Swift Current Lake. Glacier's famous red tour buses offer breathtaking tours of most of the park areas. These nostalgic open-air buses are kept in top-notch condition. There is no more relaxing way to see and enjoy the unspoiled beauty of Glacier National Park than to sit back or stand up and let someone else do the driving. Wild Goose Island is a well-known landmark set amidst deep blue waters of St. Mary Lake. The scenery here is nothing less than incredible. Surrounded by a sea of massive mountains, the lake is about 11 miles long, making it the second largest lake in the park. The shimmering, windswept waters of St. Mary Lake are cold and deep. Its steep sides drop off sharply, and little sunlight ever reaches the bottom. Because of this, the waters of St. Mary and other large lakes in the park support relatively little underwater plant and animal life. There there are nevertheless 22 species of fish scattered through the park's 250 lakes and countless streams. St. Mary Lake is located on the east side of the Continental Divide. From here, the magnificent and world-renowned Going to the Sun Road has its beginning. A visit to Glacier National Park is climaxed by a trip over this unrivaled roadway. It is generally recognized as the most spectacular scenic drive in this country, and quite possibly the entire world. Leaving the beautiful St. Mary Valley, we proceed westward past great blocks of mountains such as Jackson, ever climbing toward the summit of Logan Pass. Pyramid-shaped Reynolds Mountain towers above us. Most travelers today know little of the planning, effort, and sacrifice that went into the construction of this twisting road. On May 11, 1910, President William Howard Taft signed the bill creating Glacier National Park. The park's first superintendent, Major William Logan, arrived a few months later to face a virtual wilderness with little roads or trails and no accommodations for the visitor. He and others laid extensive plans for the development of the park. Of all of these ideas, the most popular proved to be a concept of a trans-mountain road, later to become the Going to the Sun Road. In 1916, funds for such projects became available, and in the early 1920s, construction began. On July 15, 1933, over a decade later, dedication took place at Logan Pass. This ribbon-like roadway winds and twists, soars and descends right through the very heart of the park. Its purpose was to allow the visitor access to Glacier's vast mountain wilderness. To travel Going to the Sun Road is to know that the efforts were all worthwhile. As you climb along this wondrous road through the wilderness, you may wish to stop and relax beside a mountain stream. Fill your lungs with crisp mountain air and listen to the sound of the wind and the chatter of nearby squirrels. In this way, you may come to a more complete appreciation and enjoyment of the grandeurs of Glacier National Park. Even the tunnels along Going to the Sun Road are a special experience. Each time that you emerge from one, you are delighted by breathtaking panoramas, towering cliffs, and rushing waterfalls. Glacier is a special place, in part because of its unique and diverse climates. Moist air from the Pacific cools and condenses as it climbs the slopes of the mountain barriers, forming fog and clouds. In the summer, this brings sudden summer storms with thunder, lightning, and brief torrents of heavy rain. The rains feed the melting glaciers and waterfalls, fill the lakes and streams, cut the V-shaped valleys. The rains are constantly eroding and changing the mountains and peaks. and the life-giving rains nourish the rich forests and meadows. And the wildflowers here flourish with the summer rains. Oceans of them with radiant colors and colorful names sweep the alpine slopes. Fireweed, showy fleabane, Indian paintbrush, shooting stars, silky lupin. In all, over 1,200 species of flowering plants enhance the mountains and valleys. Even this little fella is nourished by the rains. Whether you drive or ride along in the tour bus, there is a never-ending parade of scenery to remember, including this view of going to the Sun Mountain. It is a lucky visitor indeed that sees a bear along the road. The term black bear denotes a species rather than a color. Hence, there are black, brown, blonde, and cinnamon-colored black bears. The much-feared grizzly bear is a nocturnal creature and rarely seen by park visitors. All bears should be avoided from close up, as they can be very unpredictable. Alongside the highway, a kaleidoscope of beauty is evident almost everywhere. The loftiest of summits are reached at the Continental Divide. Here, water flowing westward meanders to the Pacific Ocean. To the east, waters flow to the Atlantic Ocean via the Gulf of Mexico. At Logan Pass, the Continental Divide is capped by the grandeur of Mount Clemens and a most fascinating Logan Pass visitor center. Mount Clemens is a pyramid-shaped mountain called a horn. Horns have been uniquely shaped from glaciers grinding on 3 sides. At the visitor center, you will find intriguing exhibits and ranger-guided hikes to help you fully enjoy the surrounding splendor. At the foot of Mount Clemens are the remnants of a glacier that expired in 1931. From the visitor center, several stimulating nature trails lead into the wilderness of Glacier. For a few short summer weeks, wildflowers explode in an endless profusion that blankets the area's slopes and meadows. The green mantle that cloaks the peaks and covers the valley floor offers food and shelter for one of the largest groups of wildlife found anywhere in America. There are approximately 60 species of mammals and over 200 species of birds. Unique and varied as the landscapes which they inhabit, each of the animals here has its own special way of adapting to the rugged environment. Deer, weasel, moose, elk, marmot, bear, and mountain goat are all found here. During the plenty of summer, animals constantly forage for food, gathering strength and fattening up for the lean times of winter. Marmots can be seen gathering grass to store in their burrows. The hardy ptarmigan remains active year-round and turns to a camouflaged, snowy white in winter. The more you learn about the wildlife here, the more you can begin to appreciate the miracle of survival in the wilderness. Taking the extra time at the visitor center to browse through the wildlife exhibits can help you better enjoy these fascinating creatures and learn where to watch for them in the park. The Hidden Lake Trail is a very popular 3-mile round-trip hike that ends up here at Hidden Lake. Beargrass with its tall, white-flowered stem is a popular plant in the park. It is found scattered at nearly all elevations and has become symbolic of the glacier area. Actually, it's not a grass at all, but a lily, and bears have no preference for it either. It got its name from Captain Meriwether Lewis of Lewis and Clark fame, who named it beargrass because he saw several grizzlies walking through it. Inspiring flower-framed views of the alpine terrain to both the east and west can be seen from the hidden lake trail. A torrent of water dances down from the heights of Mount Clemens. There are more than 700 miles of horse and hiking trails within the park boundaries. The Highline Trail, which begins at the Logan Pass opposite the Visitor Center, rewards the hiker with some of the most spectacular alpine scenery in the park. Hikers stop to catch their breath, overwhelmed by the incredible immensity of this landscape. From this Highline Trail, the visitor sees the rugged beauty of a great mountain range. The rock that these mountains were carved from were formed about 60 million years ago by the Lewis Overthrust Fault. The landscape that we see today has evolved over a period of 50 million years, with most changes occurring during the last 2 to 3 million from carving and shaping by the giant glaciers. Only glaciation can bring mountains to such spectacular perfection. While on the Highline Trail, you may spot a bighorn sheep. Carving and shaping of this geologic showcase by the elements and glaciation continues today. A visit to the park may reach a climax here at Logan Pass. But westward, there are still incredible vistas to behold, splendid sights to be seen, and scenic roadways to be traveled. A majesty that dwarfs what most other parks throughout the world have to offer. A tumbling Haystack Creek cascades down under the highway from a distant peak. Mighty Mount Oberlin reaches to the heavens with the remnants of a glacier clinging to one of its rocky sides, while Birdwoman Falls plunges downward from a hanging valley high above. The water from Weeping Wall comes from springs fed from melting snow high above on the garden wall. It gushes onto the highway, reaching here after flowing down through the cracked and layered rock in the mountain. From a portal in this tunnel, there's a dramatic view of Heaven's Peak. This imposing block of rock is an excellent example of the geology of the park. Note the immense downward thrust of the layers of rock. This is known as the Helena Formation. The awesome garden wall is an astonishing example of the powerful forces of glacial erosion. Towering and massive, it is only a few feet thick at some points near the top. So thin, in fact, that the sun shines through openings in the rocks. In geological terms, it is known as an arête. This sharp-edged ridge was caused by glaciers cutting and tearing away from opposite sides. The garden wall is even steeper on the other side where Grinnell Glacier lies. The Going to the Sun Road winds and wanders toward Logan Pass from the west, with distant Mount Oberlin overlooking beautiful McDonald Valley. Glacier National Park contains over 1 million acres of the finest mountain scenery in the world. In McDonald Valley, in the western portion of the park, rainfall is heavy. Numerous streams, such as McDonald Creek, cut through the vast conifer forests of the region. Lush stands of red cedar and hemlock dominate and support a wide range of plant and animal life. Along the Going to the Sun Highway in McDonald Valley is the Trail of the Cedars. To leave the busy highway and enter this quiet, wondrous domain is like a stroll into a giant cathedral. Pillars of huge, shaggy-barked cedars and the scored trunks of black cottonwoods soar to a canopy of dense evergreen far overhead. The floor is covered with giant green ferns and strewn with magnificent fallen giants. Beautiful Avalanche Gorge has been eroded and carved by Avalanche Creek since the times of the last ice age. The forest floor is covered with a myriad of ferns, plants, and mosses. Like similar forests found on the Pacific coast, the deep forests of Glacier's western valleys are nourished by heavy rains and snow year-round. The trail reaches its end at dramatic Avalanche Lake. Lake McDonald is the largest within the park. 10 miles long and over 400 feet deep, it is a hub of visitor activity in the western sections of the park. Lake McDonald Lodge, built in 1913, is a popular spot which reflects the pioneer spirit of the Old West. The Great Northern Railroad spent $1.5 million developing the area's tourist facilities between 1910 and 1917. Formed by gigantic moraines, Lake McDonald is surrounded by dense forests and rocky summits, some of which rise 6,000 feet above the lake's emerald waters. Each October, a truly remarkable event occurs along a shallow stretch of water on McDonald Creek. Kokanee salmon come to spawn in the clear, cold waters of the creek, and every year, literally hundreds of bald eagles gather to feast on these vulnerable 4-year-old salmon. During the feast, a single eagle may consume as many as 6 fish a day. Spectators come from far and near to see this special gathering of North America's most majestic bird. These great glacial mountains are the ancient homes of the Blackfeet, the Kootenai, the Kalispel, and the Flathead. They are mostly gone now, but the Indian names of their legends, like Two Medicine Lake, live on. The magnificent grandeur of Glacier National Park is unsurpassed on our Earth. Its great primitive beauty is now preserved and protected for future generations to enjoy.